to the official first reading video of this YouTube. As you would have seen in the end of the introduction video, we are going to be starting with a short story from The World's Worst Children. So these are honestly hilarious. They always make me laugh. I haven't read any of these yet. I wanted to be a bit of a surprise for me as well whilst I'm reading to you. So we're going to start off first. The first story is Dribbling Drew. This will be interesting. The descriptions are dribble of drool, pool of drool, and damp shoes and socks from the pool of drool. Pleasant. Once upon a time, there was a boy named Drew. Drew dribbled a lot. This wasn't just normal everyday dribbling, the odd globble of gob gloop running down your chin. Oh no, this was dribbling on an industrial scale. He was a boy who could dribble litre upon litre of dribble every day. Now you may wonder why Dribbling Drew dribbled so much. Well, it was because he was an incredibly lazy individual. If he could, he would sleep for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And as Drew snoozed, he drooled. Zzz, plop went the drool as it landed on the floor. On school mornings, the boy would have to be dragged out of bed by his feet. If he had his way, Drew would be wheeled to school every morning in his bed. And as soon as he arrived at school, he would get straight back to sleep. Better not be sleeping at home, guys. Drew liked nothing more than having a nice long snooze during his lessons. He had even been known to take a sleeping bag into school. That way, he could doze through every single subject. PE was a hard one to sleep through, though, but Drew found a way. For example, during football matches, he would ask to be in goal. He'd climb up onto the net and have a nap. If any of the kids scored a goal, he would moan if they celebrated too loudly and woke him up. Because Drew slept through every lesson, he always found himself bottom of the class. When Drew snoozed in lessons, he would dribble all over his desk. The dribble would trickle down the floor where a large puddle of drool would collect. If the lesson was dreamed double history or dreaded double history, the dribble would end up as something of a pool. No one knew quite what it was in Drew's dribble. It was transparent like water, but thick and sticky like glue. One time, his history teacher, Mrs. Past, ran over to Drew's desk to shout at him for falling asleep in class again. The unfortunate lady slipped on the dribble and she shot across the floor and flew straight out the window. She was found upside down in a nearby bush with her skirt around her head, her big frilly knickers flapping in the wind. The day our story starts, however, was when there was a school trip to the Natural History Museum. Awesome place. It's a brilliant museum in London. This was a wondrous place full of all sorts of treasures, from moon rock to dinosaur skeletons. The museum even housed a life-size cast of a blue whale. As Drew's class pulled up outside the museum in the school coach, Mr. Nummings, the science teacher, handed out his dreaded worksheets. Now listen carefully, children. On these worksheets, I want you to make a list of all the exhibits you see in the museum today. Do we have to, sir? Moaned Dribbling Drew, stifling a yawn. Dozing on the couch for an hour, on the coach for an hour, had tired the boy out, and now he was ready for bed. A pool of drool had collected at his feet. Yes, Drew, we do have to, yelled the teacher. And I want you to stay awake during this visit. Mr. Nummings turned back to the rest of the class. Now, everyone, the pupil who writes down the most exhibits will be top of the class, so keep looking and listening the whole time. Right, off you go. As they walked in through the museum's giant wooden doors, all the children marvelled at the huge skeleton of a dinosaur which took pride of place in the great hall. But Drew simply yawned. Then he broke away from his teacher and classmates and found a nice, quiet place to nap. It was on top of a glass case housing a stuffed dodo, a bird that had become extinct centuries before. No one would be able to disturb him up there. He even climbed up, using a stuffed giraffe as a ladder. He lay down and closed his eyes, and then he slept and slept and slept, and dribbled and dribbled and dribbled. The boy could sleep absolutely anywhere. Standing up during a rock concert, hanging upside down from a tree, even on a roller coaster, as everyone around him screamed. This particular day, Drew slept for so long that he was still asleep when the Natural History Museum was locked up for the night, without anyone even realising he was still there, and all the lights were turned off. It's a bit creepy. All night Drew slept, and he dribbled. He dribbled and dribbled and dribbled, and then he dribbled some more. The spot of drool beneath him spread into a puddle. Soon it was a lake of spit. By dawn, Drew's sea of dribble had entered and filled the entire Natural History Museum. In the morning, Winston, the burly security guard, arrived bright and early to unlock the doors and open the museum as he did every day. However, this was no ordinary day. The first thing Winston noticed was a transparent fluid oozing underneath the doors. That's very strange, he thought. Maybe one of the daft old professors has left a tap running. Next, the security guard dipped the toe of his boot into the liquid and realised it couldn't be water from a leaky pipe. Whatever this was, it was thick and sticky. Worried that the museum might have been flooded, Winston flung open the giant wooden doors as fast as he could. Nothing could have prepared him for what happened next. A tidal wave of drool washed him clean off his feet, and he found himself travelling at speed down the street. Wah! The big man screamed like a baby. Closely behind the security guard floated some of the biggest exhibits from the museum. A stuffed polar bear, the life-size cast of a blue whale, even the skeletons. They all bobbed along down the streets of London on this rushing river of drool. Atop the glass case that housed the dodo was Drew. In all the commotion, he'd finally woken up from his long sleep, and as he floated down the road, the flood of his own spit destroyed everything in its path. Cars, lorries, and even buses were swept off the ground and began bobbling along the colossal ooze of drool. He leapt off the glass case onto the roof of a nearby building. From that safe place, he watched more of the exhibits from the museum pass by. Giant bird eggs, a stuffed gorilla, and a model of an elephant. The boy reached into his blazer pocket. He still had the worksheet from his teacher, Mr. Nummings, had given him at the start of the school trip, so he made a note of everything that he saw. Every single exhibit from the museum floated past, and he wrote them all down. Mars rock, a Neanderthal skull, a marble statue, a giant squid, a stuffed vulture, an earthquake machine, a model T-Rex. The list went on and on. To his credit, Dribbling Drew spent hours listing everything he saw as the gushing river of drool swept all the museum's precious exhibits out to sea. The next day in class, Drew proudly handed in his worksheet to Mr. Nummings. Aside from a few spots of dribble, it was perfect. After looking through all of his pupils' work, the science teacher announced the results. I can reveal the winner with 100% is Drew, said Mr. Nummings. The boy was top of the class for the very first time in his life. Before he was promptly expelled. And as a punishment for destroying everything in the Natural History Museum, Drew was put to work there. His job was to reassemble the skeletons and the eggs and everything that had been recovered from the bottom of the sea. He was not to stop until this giant jigsaw was finished. Dribbling Drew didn't get any sleep for the next 10 years. I love it. That's very, very funny. Pretty gross though. If you dribble a little bit on your pillow when you're having a nap, imagine if it turned into a bit of a pool in your bedroom and flooded your room. Bit yuck. Bit of a sneak peek for next time. Next is going to be Bertha the Blubberer. So you can make some thoughts about what that might be about. But other than that, that is our very first short story of The World's Worst Children. Next time I'm going to be reading, we're going to be doing the first chapter of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. So definitely stay tuned for that, and I hope you enjoy. See you later.